Hello, everybody. Mike Maloney with the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library. We're at Kansas City, Missouri, at the VFW National Convention, and we have just encountered Alfred from Tennessee, and Alfred's going to tell us everything about him we want to know, sort of. Please, Alfred, spell your last name.
Harris.
So we have Alfred Harris, Sr. from Tennessee. Please, sir, let's start by talking about your early years, where you came from, where you grew up, your parents, high school, and how you got in the military.
Fair enough. I'm actually from Missouri originally. I was born in a small town called Charleston, Missouri, in the southeast corner of the state. And as was the custom for boys from my community, my plan was to finish high school and join the Army. Not the military in general, but the Army in particular. That's just the way it was. And so my father said to me, "All right, now, Mr. High School graduate, what are you going to do now?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to join the Army." He said, "No, you're not. You're going to Lincoln, which is the university located in Jefferson City, Missouri." So that's how I got to college. And once I got there, I found that ROTC was mandatory, which suited me fine because I got to have a uniform.
Yeah.
I did well in it. I fell in love with it, ended up getting a scholarship, and finished college with a good record. I was president of the junior class and president of the Student Government Association, graduated with honors. I had a really, really good run.
Excellent. What year was this, sir?
I graduated in 1969.
Okay.
And I'm feeling excited about that because next month I'll celebrate my 75th birthday.
Awesome, sir. Congratulations.
Other than that, I was commissioned into military intelligence. I was actually recruited out of medical services. My intent was to be a medical services officer. And
MI snatched you, huh?
they snatched me. Well, there was a thing with getting some interviews done, investigations done in communities where white agents didn't fit in well. And they really needed black agents to go to some of the places that were a little more difficult to work.
Right.
For example, I was assigned to Detroit, and a white agent going into Wayne State University just was taking his risks.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Doing that. But even so, I had to make sure that when I was moving around, I had to make myself fit in wherever I happened to be. So I either looked pretty much like this, or I had a turtleneck in the trunk of the car and I could change. I could puff my hair out and have an afro, or I could lay it down and look more conservative. So the idea was to be able to fit in. I didn't do my job any better than anybody else. It was just a matter of being able to fit in a number of different places.
Sure.
So I might be in a rough neighborhood in the morning, and then in the afternoon be at the headquarters of Ford Motor Company.
Right.
It was just that kind of experience. Within 2 years of my active duty, I was in Vietnam, where I served as an advisor to, intelligence advisor to the National Police and to local forces, would be our reserve and National Guard, Rough Puff, RFPF, they called them Rough Puff. So I did that for a year. Halfway through my tour, a required field, an infantry officer, rotated, and he was not replaced. But like I say, that was a required field. And this was in 71, 72. And the drawdown had already started. So they didn't program in another infantry officer, but that billet was still a required field.
Right.
So somebody, some genius, figured out that, oh, we can do this easily. We can make Harris an infantry officer.
Piece of cake. Yeah.
Which they did. Somebody signed the paperwork. I became an infantry officer and finished the second half of my tour during the infantry part of that job. In the process, I was engaged by the enemy and had some experiences that qualified for combat infantry badge. So in the years that followed, I was eventually awarded a combat infantry badge. And as an intelligence officer, having one was a rarity.
Yeah, that was because technically you have to be an 11 Bravo or in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's that. So you that's very unique that you have that.
It is indeed
Yeah.
unique. The infantry branch.
You deserve it, of course, but that's very unique.
Yeah, they guarded those pretty carefully. As a
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact, my tour ended in '72. My boss in Vietnam actually submitted me for the award every year until it was finally awarded to me in 1976.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Well deserved. What happened after Vietnam, sir? What you do after Vietnam?
After Vietnam is when I went to Detroit as a special agent. I stayed there for 3 years. Followed that with the career course as an intelligence officer at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. We used to call it Fort Hoochie Coochie. But Fort Huachuca, Arizona. Following Arizona, I took command of a separate intelligence organization, collecting organization, direction finding and collection in Northern Virginia. Did that I stayed at that base for 3 years before transferring to Nebraska to become an ROTC instructor. Did that for 3 years, then off to school again at the Armed Forces Staff College in Norfolk, Virginia. Finished that and went for 4 years in NATO. I did 2 years in Belgium, 2 years in Holland, and the Staff College called me back to be an instructor there.
Well, I bet you that was tough duty there.
And I stayed there for 4 years until I retired.
Huh. Yeah, so you retired out of Belgium and came back home, or?
No, I left Belgium to go to the Netherlands. After the Netherlands, I went back to the Staff College as an instructor.
Okay.
I spent 4 years there and then retired.
Then retired. Then retired. And you retired, what was your rank?
Lieutenant Colonel.
Awesome, sir. Thank you so much for your service. It sounds like a very interesting experience you've had.
It was tremendously interesting, so much so that I did 16 years more than I intended to.
Definitely understand that. What did you do after the military? Obviously, you got involved with the VFW.
After the military, I was married at the time and followed my wife to Memphis, Tennessee, where she arranged to get a transfer as a Navy Civil Service employee. We wanted to make St. Louis our home, and so our deal was I would look for a job heading us in that direction. She would look for a transfer heading us in that direction. And she got an opportunity to go to Memphis, so I finished up my tour and followed her to Memphis. And it's been my home since that time. I moved there in July 1989, and I've been there since.
Been in Tennessee since. Excellent. What's happening at your VFW there in Tennessee? What's good there?
It's been an interesting time for me. I'm one of the younger members in terms of the length of time I've been a member of the post. But they ran me through some chairs pretty quickly, and I eventually came to be post commander. And then as of the last election, the quartermaster and I switched positions. He wanted to be post commander, and I got drafted to be the quartermaster. So I'm learning my way around that right now.
Oh boy, yeah.
The post was founded in '91 by several men of color. Our post designation is 11333, and that is significant to the post. Having encountered some difficulties in visiting other VFW posts, a group of black veterans decided to form a post of their own. The designation 11333 was selected because of some black troops serving in Europe in World War II. There were 11 of them, and they were part of the 333rd Field Artillery Battalion. They had been providing covering fire for troops that were moving from engagement to break contact and moving away. In the process, those troops essentially did what they were trying to do, but those providing the artillery cover pretty much got stuck in place and were eventually captured. The upshot of that story is that they were, while in captivity, while POWs, they were viciously murdered. In a town, I believe the name of the town called Worth. It was near there. But that part of history wasn't taught very much. And the men who founded the Post wanted to make sure that that story got told. So by designating the Post 11333, they knew that someone would always be asking, well, how'd you get that number? And it would give them an opportunity to tell that story.
Right. Right. How many people perished there? How many?
11.
Soldiers?
That's where
that's right, 1133. Okay.
Yeah, that's where the 11 comes from.
Okay, 1133. That is a fantastic story. So, at that post, do they have that story somewhere where when people come in and can see it, or
The story is well known. It's not posted anywhere because our facility is closed. We were under the impression for a number of years that a certain celebrity was going to help us to build one, and we found out that the celebrity would not or could not get started doing what was supposed to have been done so that we could go forward with that. So in recent months, we broke contact with that person to start out on our own. So we're going to make another attempt at seeking grants, government assistance, or whatever the case happens to be, to start to work to really revitalize, refurbish our post because we can't use it the way it is.
Right. Right. Well, good luck with that. I really hope that works. That's an amazing story with that.
Well, thank you so much, and I can't say enough about the generosity of the community. Even though this has been going on since before I came to the post, we've never been without a place to meet. There's a church in particular, Tree of Life, that has been very good to us, and the community center near where our post is located has been very good to us. And we have our meetings during the pandemic. We met online most of the time, so a lot of the older vets got to learn about using the Zoom capability. So
they had to, didn't they? They had.
We got accustomed to the question, "Can you hear me now?"
Yeah.
Can you see me now? Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anything else you'd like to share? Thank you so much for talking with us.
Well, I would like to share.
Please.
And it's about me, if you don't mind my taking a minute to share a bit about me. After I retired from the Army, I worked for county government, and I worked in the corrections system for most of that time. And it occurred to me that the Army didn't prepare me to hold people captive. It taught me to do what it takes to liberate people, to make them free. So it wasn't working out for me. For a period of 7.5 years while I worked in corrections, I was in the emergency room on an average of once a month with symptoms that mimicked a heart attack. And I was having an allergic reaction just to the conditions and the stress of being in that environment. And as a Vietnam vet, I didn't need that kind of extra stress on me.
Your body didn't lie to you.
No. And when I got away from that, it was because someone from the casino industry walked in my office one day and said, they were familiar with my skills as an instructor, and said, "Would you come to work for us for this amount of money?" And I looked at it and said, "Yes, I would. I would do that."
You sure?
So I ended up working in the casino industry for 5 years, and then from there I went to working for the Navy as a civilian in the equal opportunity field. I was the program manager for the Equal Opportunity Advisor program in the Navy, which is for uniformed Navy personnel. So I ran that program for every sailor in the world, every American sailor in the world. I did that for 5 years as well, and retired in 2010. Since 2010, I've been a full-time volunteer. That's what I do with my life. I experienced the spiritual call to service. I always knew that I was called to serve, but I didn't know how. For a long time, I fought with the notion of being a minister, and I said, I don't think that's what's happening to me. You know, people say, well, we ought to look at that. You might be. Really, if the Lord wanted me to preach, I think He would tell me. So I didn't do it. But volunteerism just latched onto me and wouldn't let go. And since 2010, I've been a full-time volunteer. I couldn't be happier, even though I don't earn any money. As a matter of fact, it costs me money to volunteer. I couldn't be happier. One of the reasons I'm so happy about it is that I felt a spiritual call. And my reward for accepting the call was that on September 6, 2010, in a moment of frustration, I prayed a prayer and I said, Lord, I wish I could know what it's like to live free of the addiction to nicotine. And I know that I was addicted to nicotine because at lunchtime, I would run home from work, strip down to my waist, smoke, freshen up, put my clothes back on, and go back to the office. And that's, if that's not an addictive behavior, I don't know what is. But after I spoke those words, I never lit up again. I haven't had smoked a pipe or a cigarette since September 6th of 2010.
Wow.
So when people ask me about how I quit, I tell them readily, I did not quit. I was delivered from it. I didn't do anything except express that desire, the desire of my heart and the frustration at being a smoker. And He delivered me from that. And I am so glad. It's my joy to go out and volunteer. And I volunteer at the VA. I teach people to play guitar. I shave and give haircuts to veterans, as long as they understand I'm not a barber. I'm just a guy with a pair of clippers.
Right.
So if you can live with that, I'll come. Call me.
Eric's barber.
I'll come. And I continue to practice my faith on base at the Navy base. I'm volunteering with the chapel program that we run as a lay group now. And life is good for me. At 75, being a single man, a lot of people are worried about what's going to happen to them and how things are going to be in the future. And I feel like, man, I'm just really hitting my stride and doing what I'm supposed to do. So life is good for me. I feel extremely blessed, and being able to experience and live out and work my calling through military organizations is a significant part of that spiritual call that I felt. So the VFW means a lot to me. It means a lot to my personal life, my service to my community and my family. My nephews, nieces, and my sister all share that for me. They celebrate that with me because they know how important it is to me.
You're clear on your call now, though. Volunteerism, right?
Very clear.
Yeah.
Very, since 2010.
Yeah.
Since 2010.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing, sir. Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I don't know that there's anything I would or should, except to say that I have 2 children, 3 grandchildren, 9 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren.
2 great, huh?
Yes, and life is good. God has blessed me richly.
Hitting your stride at 75.
I hit my stride at 75.
Yeah.
God is good. I'm glad to serve. I serve my God, and I serve my country, and I think it's what I was raised to do. That's what I was taught in elementary school, and I was taught those words when they didn't really mean a lot to me. But just living out my life, serving my country out of the duty that I felt since I was a kid,
Right.
and just going where my feelings, my values, my morals led me, just traveling in that direction has brought me to this point, and I'm satisfied.
Awesome, sir. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for coming in and talking with us. I hope you have a great convention. It was very nice meeting you, sir.
Thank you so much.